Welcome back to Growing Home Acres Builder's Edition. I never videoed the house, the exterior of the house after I finished the roof. You can see how I got the peak running in to the other building up here, and you can see how I have everything overlapped as far as guttering and all that to make sure that there's no water on the inside. And then let's go inside and I'll show you how I built. I'll show you how I did the rafters. So we're coming in the back door. So of course this is the laundry room that I built. But if you look up here, you see I just pulled the metal off. There was metal on this plywood right here. I pulled that metal off, and then I cut the angles on the rafters the same angle as the trusses. So here, let me get up there on the ladder and I'll get you a better view. So as you can see, I cut the bottom of the rafters there on an angle, and I wish I could remember what the angle was. I might have it written down here somewhere and I'll look. And then I came up here and I cut the angle up here. Now, this is laid onto, of course, the existing roof in the bedroom building. And I didn't have to cut anything open. So there was never a chance that there was an open hole into that other building from the roof. And that's all tied in. And that's it. And everything is solid. And everything is plumb and level. So it's not really, it's not rocket science. But this is coming from a guy that's been in the business for 35 years now, as much as I hate to admit that. And when you're tying these buildings together, you know, if you're building a tiny home that you want to make into a not so tiny home, it's really not that difficult to do. So as we come in here, we're gonna the next step is to start putting the kitchen together. So it's gonna start getting exciting because you're gonna start getting to see the electric going in, the kitchen cabinet. Well, the electric first, then it'll get plumbing, then it'll get insulation. So that's what's coming up next. Okay, so this morning I'm back working on Sarah's house. So I'm actually standing in the building that is the bedroom area. So let me get back in the corner here so you can see the whole space. So I'm standing in what is actually going to be Jack's closet. So this morning's project, I got to move the extra steel that's from the roof. I got to move all this stuff out of here. Then on this wall, which will actually face towards the valley, right in the center, I'm going to install a window. Right about where those 4 studs are, and I don't know why there's 4 studs there, but there is. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I have to install a window somewhere in that wall. That window won't get framed in today because where my miter box is sitting, there's going to be a bathroom. That bathroom has to be framed in before this window can get put in because I want to make sure that that window goes exactly in the center of the room. Then on this wall here, there's going to be 2 windows. Once I move these windows out of the way and make sure I have the correct windows placed so I know how big to make the rough opening, I will set up the camera and show you how I'm going to come about. That's an awkward statement, isn't it? I'll show you how I figure out where those windows are going to go. The nice thing is this is a truss roof. So the bearing is in this wall. So really, if I didn't want to, I wouldn't even have to frame in a header above those 2 windows on that wall. I'm going to, regardless of bearing or not bearing, just because I want to make sure that there's a good solid spot with these windows and there's no flex in the future. But I'll show you how I come about centering those 2 windows. then on this wall, there's not going to be windows because there's going to be a big double closet there. This, for right now, is going to be master bedroom. And then eventually that master bedroom will get moved. And then once I get these windows framed, I'm not going to cut out the outside siding for right now because I can't place the windows without help. And we're going to have 2 days of rain, so I don't even know if we're going to even try to get these windows in because it's going to be so muddy outside. We'll see. It's just one of those things. We're dealing with weather and all of that other stuff. But I'll come back here in a little bit once I get some of these extra materials moved around and show you what we're doing for window placement. So we're going to put 2 windows in on this wall. The inside of this wall is exactly 175 3/8 inches. So we've got to find the middle of 175 3/8 inches. So 14 foot 7 3/8. So 14 foot, so 7 foot. 7 foot 3.5 plus 3/8. Okay. 7 foot. So we need to go 7 foot 3.5 plus 3/16. So this should be center of our room right there. So and I thought I'd never be using fractions when I was in high school. So 7 foot 3.5 plus 3/16. So 7 foot 3 and 5/8 heavy. So this is center of our room. So now we've got to divide that in half. 87. So 80, 40. Let's see. 87 divided by 2 is 43.5. So 43.5. 43 3/4. 43 3/4. 43 3/4. So there is half of that space. And the windows all right. The rough opening for the window is 36 inches. So the rough opening of the window is 36 inches, so we've got to go 18 each direction. 36. And here's why this is important that we lay it out like this. I have to put a closet on this wall. That closet's got to be 24 inches deep. And that's 24 inches from the sliding door. Which means this window is going to interfere with that closet. So, no big deal, because we've got so much room in between the windows. If we center these, we actually have 25 3/4. So we have 50 inches in between the windows. So all I will do is I'll move this window in 4 inches, move that window in 4 inches. We'll take 8 inches. We'll have 42 inches in between the windows. What Sarah wants to do is she wants to be able to put a dresser in between those 2 windows. So that will make it easy. So half of 42 is 21. We'll come off the center. 21. This is where our rough opening for our window will start. So our first stud will go here with a cripple inside it. Now I just got to pick my window height. So, and I want to, pretty sure, I want to keep the windows 36 inches up off the ground. Let's see, we want to go 21 from there. This window will start literally right here on this stud. So all we'll do with this stud is once I have my window height, we'll just cut this stud down. We'll add another stud on the inside. This will give me my cripple for my bottom plate to frame in this window. If we do that, so now we come off of this, off my rough opening mark here, 36 inches is right here. I'll have to pull this stud out and move it over and put in a cripple for that bottom plate here. And that will give me plenty of room. It'll give me 31 inches off of this wall, which will give me plenty of room for my 24-inch closet. Okay, pardon the noise, but the rain has picked up, so it's hitting the roof pretty good, and we're not insulated yet. I just wanted to show you, this is how the windows are going to get framed in. So you've got your bottom plate. Now, I have two cripples to put in. I wanted to show you this before I put these in and tell you why I'm doing it. So right here, underneath here, you'll have what's called a cripple. And it'll be a 2x4 that goes to the floor. One goes under each side, under the corner. The reason you put those in, even though there's no weight on them, is when you trim the inside of this window and you have the window sitting on your sill plate here, you want to make sure that the corners can't move. So it's really not a necessary framing board, but it gives peace of mind. You know you've got a solid piece. Now on the top, you'll see I've got a 2x4 box header. When I took out, there's not supposed to be any weight on this side, but when I took out these two inner 2x4s, you'll see that I just cut them short down here to get my bottom plate in. I didn't like the way it felt. So rather than just do a box and maybe just put one more board up there for strength, I did a full 2x4 box header. This 2x4 here is holding this box header up. You can see that corner there. So that'll be underneath. It's nailed through the end, and this sits underneath it. And that's on both sides. There's no way that that box header can move. That will ensure that no matter what happens with this end of the house, that window's never going to get crushed down where it'll get tight or it'll move and you won't be able to open it. I actually moved the window a little bit, like a ½ inch. That way, this 2x4, this side 2x4, is actually the original 2x4 that was in the building. I just fudged the window over a little bit. When I'm going to head over and start framing this window in, I don't think I'll be able to do that over here because the layout is different, and I'm going to have to take out, once I sit down here and figure out where this window goes, to match that window, I'll have to figure out down here which 2x4s I have to cut short. And that's it. That is basically just framing in a window in a house that doesn't have windows to make sure that it's safe. And then, like I said, because we're getting so much rain, I don't think we're going to be cutting them open. And by the way, I checked my work. I took that window, I stuck it in that opening on the inside. It fits perfect. The bottom is level. I'll show you. Always make sure you have a good 2-foot level when you're putting windows in. You can see that bubble on top is perfect. So we know that this window, when we put it in, we don't even have to shim this bottom. The whole idea is to take this window, put it on the bottom here. When you put a level on it on the inside to make sure that it's square, it's level. And it just makes things easier. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to frame in this window, and then we'll move to the other end of the building and frame that window. All right, I'm going to do a little update here. As you can see, we've got both of the windows framed in on this side. Now, they're not exactly centered in the wall because I tried to avoid cutting original studs as much as I could. So I started wherever there was a stud. If it was close and didn't have to be moved, which means didn't have to be torn out of the siding, leaving holes in the siding, I left it. So this window on this side is off of center by about 3/8 of an inch. By the time you get done with trim, drywall, everything that you're doing, you're never going to see that 3/8 of an inch. The most important thing is you're not leaving holes in the siding outside of the house that you're not going to be able to see or fix, and then you get a water leak. So that's what's going on with those two windows. Because you can see here, you can see daylight through this siding that I'm going to cut off. I'm going to cut out to install the windows. You don't want any of those holes behind these bottom studs, so you don't want to interfere with that exterior. So now we come to this side. There's going to be a window going right about here. You can see where I already put the first cripple on the left. I also marked center right down there. Center. It's not center in the building, it's center in the room. So right here we have a closet. This closet, I'm not exactly sure. I got to go back and look at the drawing and see how wide the closet is. But we know that the closet doors are going to be 60 inches. And we know that because that's the size of your standard pass-through closet doors. So what I did, and you want 24 inches of room inside the closet for hanger space. And that's important. So this board right here, this floor plate, is set 25 inches off of this corner. And of course, then it's set 25 inches over here. All I did was screw it down for right now. It's not fastened completely because I've got to lay out the length of the closet. I've got to lay out the closet doors, make sure I know where I can fasten it down. So that way when I'm done and I'm getting ready to put in the underlayment on top of this subfloor, I can cut that board out. I can cut the doorway out. So then this center mark over here where I'm going to put this window is centered between that closet wall and this corner. So now I'll get this framed in. I'm going to frame it in exactly the same way that I framed in those two windows to make sure that we've got plenty of strength so there's no movement in our header panel, our gabled truss, or any of that. We don't want anything moving. So that's what I'm doing now, and that'll be the last thing I can do today because then we've got to lay out the bathroom, which we talked about, which is going to go right where my saw is. We've got to clean up, lay that bathroom out, make sure we know where the bathroom's going, and then I can put in this window, which, as you can see, there's 4 studs there. I'm going to have to cut through all 4 of those and take them out. I will probably use the bottom, leave the bottom in for cripple, just like I did with the other 2 windows. So that's it. That's our update. Okay, so this is the end of today's project. We've gone through this. So there's the 2 windows on this side. And here is the window on this side. Now this window will be centered pretty close to center on that closet bottom plate there. So then I've got one last window to put in here. That's right here. Well, the frame in anyway. Tomorrow I'm going to clean this mess up, move my saw over to that other wall, and I'm going to start laying out the bathroom floor. The bathroom walls, not really the floor. And that's it.